Okay, well, let's get it started, I guess. This is going to be a video, this is going to be a second video, actually, of the... I guess I'm not gonna make it a series, but I will make it, I'll probably do like a follow-up video to this one as well, with, a couple of builds. I'm not really sure, though. I'll see it in the future. For now, though, this is going to be the... wait, I should have put, like, something somewhere. Give me a sec. Oh, fuck it, let's go. Alright, so this is going to be a video about the Masteries in 5.23 for the midlaners. It is going to be something that I've wanted to do for a bit now, and with the updates to the Thunderlord's decree, with the reduced cooldown, internal cooldown, and the frequency with which you can actually apply the debuff to the enemy, I believe that it's actually a better choice than the Deathfire Touch at this point. And of course there are some negatives to this build, there are some positives as well, but I will go through the whole build and I'll try to explain what my thoughts on the build are, and I'll try to give you a correct assessment of what things are going to be from now on. So let's get it started, and let's start with, let me just move this really quick. Okay, should be fine like this. Alright, well, you can see the mouse cursor, okay, that's perfect. So first we're gonna start with the Savagery and the Wanderer. Now, both are kinda meh. Savagery is like really good in the laning phase where you actually want to last hit a bit. And of course it's going to be very beneficial if you're gonna start making you do stream already, lazy, but like, yeah, I know. But yeah, like, you're gonna go for the Savagery with this one though, simply because the Wanderer, although it's really good, it does apply to you if you're out of combat, right? So for example, if you have the ultimate ticking on someone, and if you have the ultimate ticking, you're basically never gonna be out of combat, because the ultimate is going to keep you in combat constantly, or until it expires after 7 or 8 seconds. This is a video specifically for Viktor, but I mean you can make it work for pretty much like any other mid laner, specifically the all-in potential mid laners, or mid laners that have a lot of small chances to get burst on people, small chances to get a lot of auto attacks, small chances to get a lot of poke on people. So for example, a lot of mid laners such as Ari, such as Zed, such as Talon, such as Viktor, have been able to utilize this Thunderlord's build with varying success, but overall it is really good if you want the initial burst and the instant damage that comes with it. So without further ado, we're starting with the Savagery. And the secret stash is really good. It's going to prolong the usage of your potions. It's going to convert your potions into biscuits. It's going to make the refillable flask last even longer. So if you're going with something like the corrupted refillable flask, you're going to have even more damage at your disposal. So of course it is really good. Only 10% more, but it is noticeable when you get 3 stacks going with the corrupted flask. And of course the instant heal and the instant mana restore from the potions, well, biscuits at this point, is really good as well. So we're going with the secret stash here. And now this is something that I've wanted to discuss with you guys for a long time. Now, meditation is something that you don't really need as Viktor, but I'll tell you how you can utilize it and how to actually be able to get a lot of benefit from it, if you will. So, for example, you can get 3 points into Merciless, or 2 points into Merciless, because a couple of points of damage will not really make that much of a difference. But here's the thing about the meditation. If you take it up to 2 points or 3 points, because at 5 points it gives you only 1.5% of your missing mana every 5 seconds, right? So it's not that big of a difference from, say, 0.9, which is only 0.5 or 0.6% less. And the threshold is not that big. The difference in the threshold is not that big to the end power of the 5 points that you get. So for example, you can put 3 points in, or 2 points in the meditation, you can put 3 points or 2 points respectively in the merciless. And what this is going to allow you to do is, this is very important. Now, Viktor is a really unique champion in general, so he can utilize a very specific playstyle. The majority of champions, let's take Zerov for example. Zerov can utilize only a single playstyle, wave control, alright? So something like LeBlanc can utilize only a single playstyle with poking down, all-inning and trading you. Viktor can utilize two playstyles, wave control and effectively trading with his Q and the Thunderlords. And this is going to facilitate this playstyle, this mixture of playstyles. So very few people actually know how to counter a double face playstyle. So for example, people can adapt to a playstyle against Zerov, people can adapt to a playstyle against LeBlanc, but people can rarely adapt to playstyle that features two kinds of playstyles combined into one. And it's a really unpredictable and a playstyle, and a lot of people don't really know how to counteract it. So you will have a very good advantage if you pick up the meditation. Now, it's really good because it provides you with missing mana every 5 seconds. So the more mana that you're missing, the better this talent will actually scale. Which means that coupled with the Doran's Rings, coupled with the regeneration of the new Doran Ring with the percentage mana refund, this is going to be really powerful, because the more you exhaust your enemy mid laners' resources, of course in your resources in the process, because you're pushing both your limits with trading as well as wave control, the more you push him towards the edge, the more you will receive a benefit, the more you will take an edge in the fight, in the 1v1, because you will actually not be able to go out of mana, but he will be able to go out of mana, okay? So 2 or 3 points in a meditation is really powerful. Now this is really, really up to you at this point though, but I believe the Dangerous game is a bit better. It's better overall because of those all-in scenarios against Zed, against Talon, against LeBlanc and stuff like that. And it's really helpful to just keep you in the game, if you will, after you actually go, after you actually kill your enemy or you get an assist from the jungler who's following up. And it is really good because it does absorb up to 2 ticks of the Ignite, which is a very considerable amount of HP if you think about it. So you can go with the Bandit as well. It's going to help you out with getting your core items up, something like a second Doran Ring, or maybe as well as the augmentation, or maybe augmentation into Fiendish Codex, for example, depending on what you're going for, of course. But personally, I would take the Dangerous game, simply because I do believe that the sustain from the meditation, the feast. Later on, I'm going to explain about the feast as well. But the sustain, both in the mana as well as the HP department, is more than enough to get you really good laning time, so you can actually pick up your core items. And the Dangerous game is going to help you out in the late game, not in the late game, but in the mid game, I guess, in small skirmishes and stuff like that. Now, of course, getting the Dangerous game here. Now, precision, although it's really good, Viktor deals the majority of his damage is, well, not the majority, all of his damage is magical, even with the Q, because it does convert the damage, the physical damage into magic damage. So basically the precision, you do make really nice use of it. The problem is that it's just not going to be that good compared to the intelligence. Now we're gonna get 5 points in the intelligence, and you can do a really nice build, for example, with cooldown reduction boots, with Morello, as well as Lich Bane, since Lich Bane now gives 10% cooldown reduction. So you can get Viktor up to 45% cooldown reduction without any runes, and without any other items that give you cooldown reduction, which is very good if you think about it, depending on how the game is and what the game demands of you. It can demand prolonged fights, it can demand really short burst dependent fights, but overall the intelligence is really good, and it does provide you with a base 5% cooldown reduction, which is going to get you up to 15% cooldown reduction without anything rune related. So when you get your boots, the Ionian boots of lucidity, you will be able to go up to 15% cooldown reduction only from the talent as well as the boots. And now the most important thing, the Thunderlord's Decree. Now, the reason why the Thunderlord's Decree is so good is because, take for example the hypothetical scenario of actually going against a Zed on the mid lane. He throws his shadow with the W, he misses his combo, right? You go close, you do an auto attack, you do a Q, you do another auto attack with the augmented auto attack, the empowered auto attack. So this relates to a really good way of actually trading with your enemy. So for example, in approximately 1 second, you can dish out close to 300 damage, which is pretty much one spell on max level, and you will be able to do it for the mere 50 mana, close to 50 mana, because that's the amount of mana that your Q costs at that point. So what's going to happen is you're going to get approximately 50 damage from your auto attack, approximately 50 or 60 damage from your Q, from the small amounts of AP that you have from your runes, as well as the Doran's Ring on the low levels. You're going to have approximately 120 damage from your empowered attack, and the Thunderlord's proc is approximately 100 damage on the lower levels, I'd say 5, 6, 7. So that all correlates to how well you actually trade with your enemy. But if you seize the opportunity after the enemy has failed their trade, you can actually dish out close to 300 damage with close to 50 mana, right? So that's pretty much nothing. Now the really important thing about this is, take for example a direct comparison with the Deathfire Touch. The Deathfire Touch was really good because it had no internal cooldown, right? So for example, if you got a Morello as a first item as Viktor, you could do theoretically up to 5 death rays for the period of 30 seconds that the Thunderlord was. So for example, overall the damage with the short trades in the playstyle actually favored you as a Viktor player to go with the Deathfire Touch. But with the changes to the internal cooldown of the Thunderlord's decree down from 30 to 20 seconds, I do believe that at the moment it's going to be more beneficial for you to actually get the Thunderlord's decree. And this is pretty much the standard stuff about this page. Of course it can vary, you can get the Bandit if you wish, you can get 5 points in the Merciless, but I already explained how meditation relates with Viktor's abilities, as well as his playstyle. And yeah, this is pretty much all that you want to get from this page. Now from this page, of course, we're going to start with the Sorcery. We've already discussed in the previous video how the Fury is pretty much useless for you as a Viktor player, so we're going to start with the Sorcery. Now, the Feast is going to be really good. It does have an increased cooldown, which is not that nice at this point, to say the least, but it is still superior in the double-edged sword. If you're playing in matchups against Zed, against LeBlanc, against Talon, something that trades really frequently and trades really hard with you, and something that can always get their damage first on you. So unless you're feeling really confident in those matchups, you're not going to pick the double-edged sword. You're going to go with something like the Feast. And for the majority of matchups, it is a really universal talent, so you're not really forced to go with the double-edged sword, but if you feel confident in the matchup, you can definitely go with the double-edged sword most of the time. Hey Reef, what's up, man? Alright, so now, the Vampirism, here's the thing about the Vampirism, right? Since you don't really have the recovery at this point, you're most likely going to rely exclusively on the Feast, if you get the Feast, as well as the Vampirism, right? So this is going to be your bread and butter when it comes to sustain in the laning phase, and HP sustain. We already discussed how the mana sustain works with the meditation and the Doran Ring. So we're going to get, instead of the recovery, since we really don't have enough points to put into it, we're going to get the Vampirism. We're going to get up to 5 points. And you can put 1 or 2 points in the natural talent, of course, if you feel like it, but 4 damage and 6 ability power at level 18 are rarely gonna make a difference, most likely not, so the Vampirism is, at 5 points is definitely good. If you're going with something like a Gunblade, for example, you will not need the Vampirism, and you will definitely benefit much more from 5 points into the natural talent, which is really good, of course. It scales really well with your auto attacks. It helps you with the last hitting. It helps you with the trades with your Q, as well as the Thunderlord. Now it makes it even better at this point, because it does scale both from your AD as well as AP damage. But yeah, usually you will go with the Vampirism unless you're going with something like a Gunblade, because simply the sustain combo is really powerful and you will be lacking the recovery. Now, this is really individual. Again, this is your final choice from this talent tree, and it's going to be, most of the times it will be the Oppressor. Depending on what your jungler is, of course, if he has like lockdowns, if he has CC, it's going to be synergizing really well with him into the late game. Now, into the early game. Now, keep in mind, if you get only 3 kills, 3 individual kills, jungler, mid laner, and perhaps top laner, one of the bot laners, okay? If you get 3 individual kills, you will have 3% bonus damage on demand. So you will not even need to have the enemy CC'd. The Oppressor basically becomes a liability at that point if you get more than 3 individual kills. And with every passing kill, you will get it up to 5%, which is going to be twice as powerful. So overall, depending on the matchups and depending on how squishy and how well you can think you can fare against your enemy in the matchup, I do believe that the Bounty Hunter is still more powerful than the Oppressor. Of course, if you're going with something like the Allies Scepter, it's going to be really good as well, but let's face it, like three kills individual, which is not that hard to get as Viktor, it's pretty much going to give you damage on demand without any requirements of actually having stuns or slows or etc. on the enemy. And this is pretty much going to be your build. Nothing more to say, to be honest, about this one. We can talk a bit about the negatives. Now, the negatives about this build are, of course, you will be lacking. It's more about the preference side though, but for me personally it is a big negative. So for example, you will not have the insane sustain combo with the recovery, with the feast and the vampirism. You will not be very tanky because you will not have the veteran scars, which is not that big of a deal. The veteran scars don't go up to a huge amount of percentage, so it will not really make that big of a difference. You will be forced to play slightly more safer though, but you will have pretty decent sustain with the vampirism and the feast combo regardless. Now, the final thing that I wanted to point out is that you will miss the insight. Now, the insight is really good for people like me, who personally like to utilize more their summoner spells. So for example, if you have something like a ghost and if you have a flash combo, it will be really good. It will be really good. There's no other way around it. But with the accessibility of the lucidity boots as well as the distortion, which is less than, how much is it? Around 1k though, roughly 1k. For 1k gold, you can basically get your cooldown reduction in the summoner spells before season 6, with the base cooldown reduction that it was from the insight before it actually got reduced to 15%. So it is somewhat good. You're not going to be missing out on that much cooldown reduction, but I do believe that with the insight, it's a really big loss specifically for me because I was so used to having low cooldowns on my summoner spells. But yeah, aside from the fact that you're not going to have a very reduced cooldown on the summoner spells, as well as you're not going to be that tanky. This playstyle really facilitates a double playstyle mixture on the mid lane with the wave control as well as the trading aggression. It facilitates low mana trades, very efficient with a lot of damage spikes, and it does facilitate a good amount of damage without losing too much. Now, the piercing thoughts is really good as well. The problem with the piercing thoughts is that it's just, in this meta, it's either people build extreme amounts of magic resist or they build no magic resist. So for example, if people build a small amount of magic resist or they don't build any magic resist at all, 7% of their magic resist is really not going to do much for you. Flat magic penetration from the sorcerer shoes, for example, is going to be much superior. If they build huge amounts of magic resist, 7% is still not going to do much for you because you can easily get away with a void staff and it's going to get you up to 30+%, right? So 30% is definitely, 7% is definitely not going to be that noticeable. And of course, we already discussed the differences between the Deathfire Touch as well as the Thunderlord's Decree. It's just something that after the changes is much more viable because you can actually trade in between the waves because the waves have a 30 seconds plus distance between each other. So what you will be able to do is you will be able to effectively trade up to 2 times between the waves, and it's just going to be really, really powerful when you think about it. Of course, the Deathfire Touch was really good because if you get the Morello, you can get up to 5 lasers theoretically, of course. Put it 4 lasers because you can miss one. And the 30 seconds time frame that you had before with the Thunderlord's Decree. But at this point, this is going to be your basic build. We've discussed the negatives, we discussed the positives of this build as well, but I do believe that the positives outweigh greatly the negatives of this build. The negatives are mostly preferential, they're mostly individual, depending on your playstyle, but I will miss the insight, but I will definitely not miss the really nice traits from the Thunderlord's Decree. So that's going to be it for this video. I'm not really sure if I'm going to do another video. Until further notice, this is going to be pretty much your best build for this patch. If something comes up, if some major changes come up to the next patch, then we're going to make a video about that as well. But for now, that's going to be it. Alright boys, I'll see you in the next one, I guess. Thank you a lot for watching, and yeah, see you next time.